On the ninth hole of the final round at Trump National Doral, the world's best golfer missed a tap-in par putt by the width of a golf ball. What happened next wasn't just a frustrated gesture or a quiet word. Scottie Scheffler turned to his caddy, Ted Scott, and vented, visibly, emotionally, and directly into his ear on live television. A Sky Sports commentator watching the moment unfold said it plainly, "Ted Scott's ears may be bleeding at the end of the day." That single line captured something that the entire golf world had been watching build across 3 consecutive tournaments. This is the world number 1, a man with a gold Olympic medal and back-to-back PGA Championship titles, and he is standing on a fairway looking like he has completely run out of answers. 3 straight runner-up finishes. A partnership now under the microscope. And a major question hanging over everything heading into Quail Hollow. Is Scottie Scheffler about to make the biggest personnel decision of his career? To understand why that moment on the ninth hole hit differently, you need to understand what Trump National Doral was supposed to mean for Scheffler. The Blue Monster course stretches 7,700 yards and is one of the most demanding layouts on the PGA Tour. Rain fell more than an inch in the early morning hours on Sunday, delaying the final round by 2 hours and softening the course enough that preferred lies were in effect. Despite the conditions, Cameron Young had already made this tournament his own. He entered the final round with a 6-shot lead, having led wire-to-wire since the opening round. Scheffler was in second place, but he wasn't coming in fresh. He was arriving at Doral already carrying the weight of 2 consecutive runner-up finishes. This was supposed to be the week he finally broke through. Instead, it became the week the frustration cracked the surface. Here is exactly what happened on the ninth hole. Scheffler was facing what looked like a routine tap-in for par. Nothing complicated. Nothing dramatic. He misread the break, and the ball slipped past the hole by a ball's width. He begrudgingly nudged it in from just a few centimeters away for a bogey, and then immediately turned toward Ted Scott and began venting. The body language was unmistakable. This was not a quiet conversation between player and caddy. The Sky Sports commentator narrated the moment as it happened. He has just about had enough of these greens. He's simply out of answers. Only birdies coming, I'm sure, are tap-ins at the par 5s today. That commentary wasn't exaggerating. The cameras captured the full picture. A world number 1 golfer in the middle of a final round he could not win, directing his frustration squarely at the man carrying his bag. But this moment did not happen in a vacuum. To understand why it landed with such weight, you need to go back 3 tournaments and trace exactly how Scheffler arrived at this point. First, the Masters at Augusta National. This was the week Rory McIlroy completed the career Grand Slam, one of the defining moments in modern golf history, winning a sudden-death playoff to claim the green jacket for the first time after 11 attempts. It was a historic occasion and a dramatic final round, but Scheffler was never part of the drama. He shot a final round 69 and finished 4th. He never seriously contended. As the coverage noted, Scheffler never got anything going that week. A 4th-place finish sounds respectable, but for the world's best player entering a major as a favorite, it set a concerning tone. Then came the RBC Heritage Classic at Harbour Town. This one was different. Scheffler trailed by 7 shots through 36 holes, but battled back with rounds of 64 and 67 over the weekend to force his way into a playoff against Matt Fitzpatrick. He was 8 for 8 in scrambling on Sunday, a perfect record. He earned his spot in that playoff with late birdies on the 15th and 16th holes. Then in the playoff on the 18th, Fitzpatrick hit a 4-iron from 204 yards into a stiff breeze, landed it just past a bunker, and rolled it to 13 feet for birdie. Scheffler responded with what he described in honest terms. On Sunday it's a shot here or there that makes a difference. His response shot was a badly fanned 6-iron that finished 37 yards short of the hole. He pitched to 8 feet but never had to putt. Fitzpatrick had already made the winner. After everything Scheffler had done to get into that playoff, he had the chance and could not convert. Then came Doral. Cameron Young led this tournament from start to finish. He led by 5 shots at the halfway point. He led by 6 through 54 holes. In the final round, Young's performance was described by Scheffler himself in terms that made the outcome clear. First 27 holes, I don't think he missed anything really. It was nuts. Guy was just holing everything. When you're hitting really good shots and holing a lot of putts, that's a recipe to run away with a golf tournament. Young led the field in strokes gained, putting picking up more than 7 shots on the field for the week. He won by 6 strokes, finishing at 19 under par. Scheffler shot a final round 68 and finished at 13 under, a comfortable distance behind. This was not a near miss like Hilton had. Scheffler was never a factor on Sunday. What makes the three-tournament stretch so significant is the pattern buried inside it. Scheffler ranks 72nd on the PGA Tour in first-round scoring average this season. Slow starts have plagued him repeatedly. At Doral, Young beat him by 7 shots in the opening round alone. That single-round deficit effectively ended Scheffler's tournament before the weekend arrived. 3 consecutive events. 3 consecutive tournaments where the opening round set a ceiling he could not break through. 3 consecutive second-place finishes that keep pointing to the same problem. Ted Scott is not just a name on a bib. Before he ever stood next to Scottie Scheffler, Scott spent 15 years as the caddy for Bubba Watson, a partnership that produced 12 PGA Tour victories including 2 Masters titles. That collaboration ended in September 2021 when Scott and Watson split. Just weeks later, Scott appeared on Scheffler's bag at the RSM Classic in November 2021. At the time, Scheffler described the pairing in straightforward terms. "He's a real positive influence. We were in a good mood all day. He did a good job helping me stay patient, not overthink things out there." He added simply, "I've known Teddy for a couple years, just a good dude around the tour." What followed that initial pairing was one of the fastest rises in recent PGA Tour history. Scheffler went from being outside the top 60 in the official world golf ranking to world number 1 within months of the partnership beginning. Scott's role was described by those covering the tour as something beyond a traditional caddy relationship. A mentor, a stabilizing presence, someone who kept Scheffler level-headed during a stretch of golf that saw him claim the Masters, the Olympic gold medal and back-to-back PGA Championship titles. The partnership appeared, from the outside, to be one of the steadiest in professional golf. But there was a moment that raised early questions. During the FedEx Cup playoffs, Scott missed 2 full events, the FedEx St. Jude Championship and the BMW Championship, to tend to a family matter in Louisiana. A fill-in caddy, Michael Cromie, stepped in. Scheffler won the BMW Championship with Cromie on the bag, his 5th win of that season. When asked about Scott's availability for the Tour Championship, Scheffler was loyal and measured. "Ted's where he needs to be right now. Caddying is probably the last thing on his mind, as it should be." That loyalty is important context. The blow-up at Doral is jarring precisely because of how composed and united this partnership has appeared. That's what makes the 9th hole moment so significant. When a partnership that's solid produces that kind of visible friction on a Sunday final round, it demands a real conversation. Now the fair question, was Scheffler right to vent? The case that this is overblown starts with a simple reality: elite athletes express frustration. It happens in every sport at every level. One visible moment does not equal a termination. Scheffler was operating under real pressure at Doral, 3 consecutive second-place finishes, playing on a course owned by the sitting President of the United States, watching a Ryder Cup teammate put on one of the performances of the year while he stood 6 shots back. After the round, Scheffler was publicly generous about Young, offering genuine praise with no deflection. Caddy relationships endure friction. That is part of the job on both sides. But the case that something is genuinely wrong is harder to dismiss. The 9th hole incident was not an isolated reaction to one missed putt. The Sky Sports commentary made clear it had been building throughout the round, a full-round pattern of frustration directed at Scott over green reading. Scheffler ranks 72nd on tour in first-round scoring average. In 3 consecutive tournaments, the opening round set a ceiling he could not overcome. At Doral, Young beat him by 7 shots in round 1 alone. 3 tournaments in a row where Scheffler found himself chasing rather than leading. When a commentator says the world's best player is simply out of answers, that is not casual observation. That is a caddy conversation waiting to happen. And the timing of that conversation could not be more consequential. Scheffler now heads to Quail Hollow Club to defend the Wanamaker Trophy at the PGA Championship. He is the reigning champion, but the defending title provides no comfort if the first-round pattern repeats itself. McIlroy, who has won at Quail Hollow 4 times, presents a potential rematch storyline after the Masters. Cameron Young, who now has 2 wins in 2026 including the Players' Championship and the Cadillac Championship, arrives at the major season with real momentum. Aronimink and Shinnecock Hills are ahead for the US Open and beyond, courses that, as Young himself has said, have him eager. The major season is not waiting. It is here. The question Scheffler must answer is whether he makes an adjustment before Quail Hollow or stands pat and trusts the partnership to correct itself. Major caddies are rarely swapped mid-season without significant cause. The history of the PGA Tour shows that these partnerships, once established at the top level, tend to endure even through difficult stretches. But the cause here is visible, documented on live television, and backed by 3 consecutive tournaments of statistical evidence pointing to the same problems. Slow starts. Green reading friction. A world number 1 who cannot find his footing in opening rounds. Here's where this stands. The framing of Scheffler being ready to fire Ted Scott is not a confirmed decision. It is a real and growing conversation. 3 second-place finishes in a row demand accountability. Scheffler is too competitive and too precise in how he operates to accept a pattern like this without addressing it directly. The real controversy is not one blow-up on a Sunday in Miami. It is a systemic issue, slow starts and green reading problems that have now cost Scheffler across 3 consecutive events, including a major. Ted Scott is an accomplished caddy with an exceptional career record. But accomplished partnerships still require recalibration when the results demand it. Whether Scott remains on the bag at Quail Hollow or not, one thing is clear. Something has to change before the PGA Championship. Scheffler is too good, and the major season is too important for the first-round problem to continue. The question for you: do you think Scheffler should stick with Ted Scott heading into the PGA Championship, or is it time for a change? Drop your answer in the comments below.